Hello and welcome to the Damn Good Podcast. This show is going to take you for a ride. I'm going to share what's going on in my life and insights that I find along the way. We'll talk mindset, fitness, tactics, and business strategy. The big question, what do I need to do today to be better tomorrow? I'm Dillon Mitchell, and this is the Damn Good Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another great episode. If you like the episode, please share it, rate us on iTunes, and we'd love to spread this out. So share it if you like it. If not, don't worry about it. Guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about fitness. In the fitness realm, you might ask, why am I qualified to talk about fitness? And really, some of this will go to mindset, which we'll get into in later episodes on the mindset of what I've done and my journey. So the big things on why I'm qualified to talk about this is I went from couch to Ironman within 22 months. So in my senior year of college, I started to rock climb. So like the last 6 months, I was rock climbing every week, driving with a bunch of friends, going to a rock climbing gym, and then joined a rock climbing gym right after I graduated, spent a month pretty like consistently every day going rock climbing. And then one of the weekends went to a buddy's house. I wasn't in like that great of shape at the time, wasn't really running or anything, just kind of climbing, which is still a great workout, but like cardiovascularly wasn't in the best shape of my life. Went to a buddy's house. We were throwing the football around, having some beers, and I was just like out of breath. I was like, this is rough. I don't like, what am I doing? After that weekend, decided, hey, I need to go join a gym. So joined a YMCA. They had a rock wall, which is pretty cool. It was like a 40-foot top rope rock wall with, it wasn't like just a flat piece of plywood. It had like features built into it, which was really cool. And through that, I was able to meet some people. At the time, I was like 21 and met this group of women that were in their 40s. And after rock climbing with them for a couple of weeks or whatever, they were like, hey, do you want to come on a run with us? Like Saturday morning, we're going to do like 8 miles, meet at 7:00. It's like, sure. haven't gone running like that or that distance. Did it once in high school, ran 8 miles, and that was that. So sure, why not? Showed up, cotton t-shirt, basketball shorts, tennis shoes, and a Gatorade that I bought at the gas station that morning. So totally unprepared for this day. Went, did 8 miles, and you know that you ran or did something super strenuous when you could not walk down any stairs. And I lived on a second-story apartment at the time, so getting out of my apartment was way more painful than getting to it. Fast forward, so I was in October of 2012. In 2011, 2012, I did 2 marathons that year, the Derby Marathon in April. So it's in Louisville, Kentucky. And then the Chicago Marathon in October. And then follow that up in 2013. In August, I did Ironman Louisville. So in, roughly 2 years, I went from couch, wheezing to Ironman. So super possible for you to make those shifts in your life. 2 years later, I did Ironman Lake Tahoe. And then in 2017, I did Leadville 50 miler. In 2018, I ran a few 50Ks, my first 50K. And then in 2019, I did both of these were supposed to be 100 milers. And I ended up stopping. The first event was at Page, Arizona. This was the Antelope Canyon Ultra. I did 62 miles there. And then another event in Lake Tahoe at North Star, I did 50 miles at that event where we climbed 11,000 feet in that 50 miles. So super high elevation gain. And we started at 6,000 feet, went to 10,000 feet, or just under like 9,600 feet. So that was the, top and bottom elevation, and climbed 11,000 through that. So I have done a few races in my time. And one of the big things, and there's a whole bunch we can cover in nutrition, shoes, all that kind of stuff, across my lessons learned in these ultra endurance activities. But I want to start with shoes first. We'll talk about clothing at another point. Shoes are super important. So I was listening to this podcast to these guys. They're big ultra runners, done tremendous things in their running career. But one of the things that they talked about was like shoes don't matter. Ultimately it's just getting out there and getting the miles in. And while I completely agree with that stance, I really do. If you're starting, just go run. Like, don't worry about your shoes. But there is a big thing on shoes. So I highly, highly recommend the book by Chris McDougall. It's called Born to Run. This was written in like 0405 and spawned a big barefoot running deal. I don't think most people stuck with it, but it also spawned, I believe the brand came out of this kind of trend, but Ultra, ALTRA. So it's a real shoe. They have a wide toe box because your feet are meant to kind of sprawl when you hit the ground, right? So when you think about your foot, it's an arch, right? And you think about it, let's think about a bridge. Where do you support a bridge? Like a arched bridge. You support it on the ends, which is exactly what your foot is. So that any downward pressure, like on the top of that bridge, it goes to the end supports, right? On each bank of the river, it supports it there. There's no middle support on an arch bridge. Think of your foot in the same way. The balls of your feet and your heel basically take that strain, and by your arch being able to flatten down when you run or anything like that, it basically disseminates that force, that pressure on your foot to the balls of your feet and your heel, and then allows you to absorb that shock. Versus if you had something that sticks up into your arch, now your knee, your ankle, your hip, everything is taking all that pounding. And then think of like, so 10,000 steps is 6 miles. If you're running a marathon, it's 50,000 steps roughly. Like, that's a lot of force and pressure that's exerted on your knees and hips, which is why everyone says, running long distance is bad for your hips, your knees, your joints, blah, 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 which there are a lot of ultra runners that are in their 40s and 50s that have been doing this for a while. So that is really not the case, but it does start with your shoes. So I highly recommend going to like very simplistic flat shoes. So zero drop, there should be no difference between heel and toe. So it needs to be a flat surface with something over the top. So you could do that in like sandals are actually really good. Do it in Ultras. Ultras are a fantastic shoe. It's the only thing I've been running in. And I used to have that, knee problem, hip problem, but it's again, because also with most shoes, your heel is elevated. So it's shortening your Achilles, your calves, and not letting them be the full length. So again, you're not getting as much spring in your step. You're absorbing all of this pain for each step that you take. So again, shoes do matter. And I recommend going to that kind of minimalistic barefoot thing as soon as you can. Obviously, we still need some covering because most of us have not taken a pounding on our feet. They're not calloused. They're not anything. You're, kind of soft skinned on the bottom of your feet because you've been wearing shoes for so long. So highly, highly recommend you make that transition. There is a step down. Like, don't run like crazy if you're going from a heeled shoe with arch support to a barefoot shoe. Take your time in making that transition. Like, first just do walking in them, do running probably in your other shoes, and then slowly make that transition to where you're running 1-2 miles in the, more barefoot style of shoe, zero drop shoe versus your others. And then ultimately get rid of them. You can go harder, but you will be more sore. You have not used a lot of those muscles in your calves and your Achilles because, again, you've been shortening your calves. It's basically like, think of running in stilettos. Not to that extreme, I get it, but that's effectively what you're doing. So with running, with fitness, your shoes do matter, and that is the biggest thing. If you have any joint pain, any joint problems, I highly, highly, highly recommend you change your shoes. So that is today's tip on fitness, and we'll cover more stuff on fitness and those pieces, but one thing for joint pain, change your shoes. All right, guys, we'll talk to you tomorrow.